dive into the AFC North. Russ and the Steelers play Denver early in the season 2.
Yep, week 2.
Well, we're diving in. Let's break down as we always do. Let's take a look at a snapshot of what Vegas thinks about each of these teams. So let's start with the division odds based on FanDuel Sportsbook, and those are with the Baltimore Ravens coming in as the favorite here. We got Lamar Jackson and crew plus 145 to win the division. Cincinnati Bengals right behind them at plus 165. Then it drops off quite a bit. Then you got the Cleveland Browns plus 450 and the Steelers last at plus 750.
What? No, the Steelers last? That can't be. That can't be. That's
is that
look back, Chris. Double check it.
Hold on.
That's free
money. Let me refresh. Hold on.
That's free money, right, Rack?
Is this a trap?
I mean, yeah. I guess if we have such an elite coach, then it may not be free money.
Don't have a shit roster.
All right. So that being said,
don't have a shit roster.
Let's look at the win totals of each of these teams. Steelers are not the favorite. They're Joker.
I don't. Check
That's
how
backwards.
gambling. Check how gambling works.
So Steelers are dead last to finish in the division, according to the FanDuel Sportsbook, plus 750. So, yeah, so it's like 7.5 to 1, basically.
Yeah, you get if you bet $100, you win $750.
Yeah,
if you bet on the Steelers. Whereas if you bet $100 on the Ravens, you only win 145.
So it's the Ravens are the favorite there. But let's look at the win totals of each of these teams. Let's start with the Baltimore Ravens. Over under set at 10.5 for the Baltimore Ravens. And the over is minus 122 as the favorite. The under is even money plus 100. So if you like the Ravens to win at least 11 games, you're getting minus 122. That's kind of the leading odds for them. Then let's go to Cincinnati, which they are also 10.5 wins set at the over-under with an almost identical line. So they are minus 120 on the over, minus 102 on the under. So we have two teams basically, from an odds standpoint, right neck and neck with each other at the top. With the same number of over-under on the wins. Cleveland Browns, 8.5 is the set number for their win total. Over is minus 138, so we'll talk about why that might be why people are jumping on that bandwagon. But the under is plus 112. So over-under, the over is the favorite there. And then finally, the Pittsburgh Steelers is exactly the same as the Browns, 8.5. The over is the underdog at plus 116. The under is overwhelmingly the favorite at minus 144.
Well, so the over is free money.
I don't know if I would. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. So, that being said, Scotty, what stands out to you of what we just kind of went over when it comes to either the division or over under? Again, both bottom two teams 8.5, both top two teams 10.5.
Which means, in theory, everyone's going to be 500 or above, right? Or close
like
to
last year.
Yeah, I'm a little down on this division this year, Chris. I think last year some teams, maybe not all the teams, but I think at least a couple of the teams certainly overachieved. I think the Ravens overachieved. And we'll get into why. Well, and even still, like the roster is different this year, so I have some concerns about the Ravens roster moving forward. I think the Browns overachieved last year. Like somehow they're downgrading with Deshaun Watson getting healthy again over Joe Flacco. So I have concerns with the Browns and them being able to replicate. Obviously, the Bengals get Burrow back. Should be healthy. So we'll see what they can do with that, because they've obviously been a true contender, won an AFC title game, and made a Super Bowl and neck with the Rams in that game. So they can compete. The Steelers are maybe the most unknown commodity in this division, just based off of brand new quarterback play, obviously, whether it's Russ or Fields.
It'll be
Either
Russ.
way, right now it doesn't feel like either option is great, but they didn't have great options last year and they still squeaked into the playoffs. So the Steelers will probably do what they do, Chris. 9-8. 9-8. Just try.
Which is why
why do they even play games?
I don't know.
And
I don't know.
Just yeah. I do think. I mean, yeah, the over should be free money because your coach is never not gone over.
He's always
been
going to get you a winning
better.
Season.
500 or better, I believe, right?
But
now can't be 500. So
I mean, he could if he ties.
Okay, yeah, that might be.
That's
actually probably what'll happen. You bet the over on 8.5, and they go 8-1.
they just burn you in the end.
The Steelers are just like perfectly average.
So, Rec, I'm gonna give you. I'll let you pick where you want to start in this division.
Yeah, what team do you want to start with?
Who do you want to talk about first? You want to talk about your boys?
Let's start with the Browns. Get them out of the way real quick.
Okay, let's start with the Browns. Let's get them out of the way.
It's interesting that you say that because they have better odds to win the division than your team. But okay, let's get them out of the way.
So the Browns. Let's dive into what they're looking at as far as everything they have to look forward to in this NFL season. So the Browns last season finished. Well, they finished 11-6, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
6, yes.
Not mistaken.
12-5, I believe.
11-6.
11-6. They have made some changes when it comes to their roster. So obviously Deshaun Watson's coming back. Jameis Winston, by the way, is the backup there. They added him as the backup. Did you see him hyping up in preseason? Even AB on his Twitter account was like, "Bruh, it's preseason. Like, what are we doing?"
Bruh.
Like. Jameis Winston was in full form.
Don't douse the flame that is Jameis Winston.
I love Jameis Winston. I do.
He is a different cat. Is he good at quarterback? Not really, but he's entertaining.
He is. Nick Chubb, obviously, coming off an injury, is going to be back, and he's a monster.
When is he going to be back?
I don't know. And that's the thing.
Not to start.
No, he's going to be coming off a little bit later in the season, but he was regarded as one of the top running backs in the NFL. Now he's probably going to this year, from a fantasy standpoint, he's probably going to need a little time to get back into the swing of things. But either way, if he can get to what he was before the injury, he would be a monster. I don't know. Still have Amari Cooper. Jerry Jeudy was an addition from the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, boy.
Yes, my boy. Elijah Moore is also rounding out one of the other spots in wide receiver here, along with Cedric Tillman. Njoku is the tight end in the Cleveland Browns. They're starting tight end. And then also Myles Garrett on the defensive side. People obviously have Myles Garrett as one of the best defensive players in the NFL. So he will be another factor. But that being said, it's going to be an uphill battle looking at the two top teams that we think are going to finish above them in the standings. Scotty, let's dive into it. Cleveland Browns.
But first,
the NFL is overdue for another 30 for 30 season. I believe in Jameis to find a way to deliver us another one this year in the land of Cleves.
Hey, I love it. Thank you for the bits casually. Also, black market breast milk to be 9-8 in the mix forever is better than cheering for a tanking team. I would almost. That's it. I don't know black market because
9-8 is misery every year.
Can't
Where are you
confirm.
headed? Where are you headed? What's the end game? You're never going to be in real contention to win a Super Bowl.
You're never going to get a pick.
But you're not bad, so you'll win some games and you'll feel good that Sunday when you win. But then you'll just have a mid-draft pick, and just listen. As a Chiefs fan, mid is not it.
No.
It's not fun.
No.
But he also said it feels like Amari Cooper has been in the league way longer than he has. Well, yeah. I mean, I feel like Amari's been in the league for forever. Feels like he's been on more than
win 14
Raiders and
Raiders, Cowboys,
Browns, obviously.
Yeah, I think that was it. He got straight from the
but
Cowboys to the Clowns.
But he's still balling out. Props to Amari, and they got him on a steal. The Cowboys got fleeced on that one.
And he's been productive too. He's been fairly productive. He was
great last year. Very great last
year. But yeah,
Cleveland. Cleveland. I wasn't a Deshaun Watson, when he's been healthy and playing, has been so bad at quarterback. And I thought he was in Texas with the Texans. He was. I didn't think he was a great thrower of the ball, but he had great results and obviously won a lot of games and put up some stats where I was like, no, he's gonna move to the next team and he's gonna be legit. This is not. It's almost like the Browns made a deal, and I feel bad for Browns fans because all they want is to have a good team. They made a deal with the devil and they lost. The devil screwed them.
Yeah.
Because Deshaun Watson, they give him this guaranteed money, and Deshaun Watson hasn't been close to the player he was in Houston prior to the controversy and all that. He doesn't move as well as he used to. He's not a great thrower of the football. I've always, even when he was a decent thrower of the football, he was still mid on that. But it was like you play to his strengths. You can do that. But he doesn't run around as much now. He's not accurate with the ball. I honestly think they played their peak football last year with Flacco. I don't even know if that's debatable. They were better with Joe Flacco in his 47th year in the league, Chris, than Deshaun Watson last year.
You're right. You're right. They look more dynamic with Flacco.
You have Nick Chubb, who had the gruesome injury last year, trying to come back from that at some point this year. We don't know when. Nick Chubb's a baller and honestly probably the most talented actual runner of the football in the league when he's healthy. But when is he going to get healthy? I think the Browns' strength is their offensive line, at least on the offensive side of the ball. Offensive line's great. They return all 5 starters on the offensive line. Really, really good offensive line, and that's what predicated their success offensively last year. They add Jerry Jeudy, so we'll see. It's interesting because Jerry Judy's his strength is, or perceived strength at least, is route running and timing routes and hitting him at the right moment when he's open. I don't know if Deshaun Watson's the perfect fit for that, but they are paying Jerry Jeudy a lot of money in that trade to make that happen. So we'll see with Amari Cooper and Jerry Jeudy how that 1-2 connection. You still have oh my gosh, the tight end who I actually like.
Njoku.
Yeah, David Njoku is kind of a beast. Got lit on fire and played through it last year, so I respect that. Defensively, this was the number 1 defense in the NFL last year, but it was kind of bizarre because at home they were so good.
The road home splits were wild for this defense.
They were not good at all on the road, and then they got in the playoffs and they got exposed by the Houston Texans. Not good at all. Obviously, it starts with the best defensive end in all of football, Myles Garrett on the edge. Settle down. You have obviously a piece there. You have Denzel Ward, really nice corner. I think the secondary's pretty good.
Early
with
code
Denzel.
yellow.
Yeah, go get that code yellow. Greg Newsom's nice slot corner. It was just so bizarre. They were this was kind of a team defensively. You knew by the first quarter they were either going to dominate that game or they were going to get dominated, which is weird for the number 1 overall defense. I don't know if I perceive them as that. Now, I think they were relatively healthy last year. They have Zadarius Smith coming off the other edge. He's a nice piece they got from the Green Bay last year. He didn't have huge numbers, but I still like him as a player. They just signed their linebacker that they drafted from Notre Dame a couple years ago to a new contract. I don't know. It's a really long name. Jeremiah Owusu Koromoa or whatever his name is.
Oh, hey, you nailed it.
Was that right?
Yes.
Look at me. They signed your old friend alert from the Steelers in Devin Bush, I believe, at linebacker. Which is not something to be excited about. But yeah, they added Juan Thornhill, former safety from the Chiefs. 2 years after that, I mean, he's been a nice piece. I actually think the Browns, on paper, should finish last in this league, in this division. That's not to say I don't think they have a lot of talent. They have a lot of nice pieces. I don't trust Deshaun Watson, and I think that defense kind of overachieved at times last year. And they stayed very healthy from what I can remember last year, for the most part. They lost pieces on the defense, like Shelby Harris, a former D tackle from the Broncos. They lost some other pieces, nothing crazy. They lost old friend alert Kareem Hunt. But honestly, I just think they were healthy. I think Joe Flacco was actually a better option at quarterback than Deshaun Watson. I think this team finishes below 500.
Ooh. Yeah, you have Jerry Jeudy, who's pretty much the receiver version of Sam Bradford. This will be the year he gets better, I swear. This is the year he finally breaks out. It probably still won't happen, especially with Grover Cleveland at quarterback. Like you said, Watson, don't really trust him. It's like when you take a year or more off of the game, like Watson did, it takes an effect on you. I mean, that's how it is in pretty much any sport, but yeah, he took the whole year off of football, then he was suspended 11 games, which didn't help in the slightest. So you have all this guaranteed money to a guy that hasn't been able to play for a while, and when he was finally able to play, he was super rusty, not the same quarterback he was in Houston. I really thought like he was a top 5 guy in Houston, but now he's only just good for getting booed out of his own stadium and out of everyone else's stadium.
Yeah. I didn't see him as top 5, but he was certainly like top 7, 8 for me in Houston, and now he's not top 20 for me.
Yeah.
Crazy, man. Deshaun, you sell your soul, and here's what you get. I mean, Browns fans, just keep browning. Just keep browning. Steelers should win this division, says Keep Close. Talent in the division is really weak this year. Then Keep Close, I suggest you go place a hefty bet on 7.5 to 1. Was that what it was? 7.5? Yeah, 7.5.
I think it was.
Yeah, plus 750.
You better and
I will also. Is there a way to fade the Steelers winning the division now that Keep Close has made his?
I was gonna say that's the worst thing that could have happened to you there, Rec. Is Keep Close jumping on your bandwagon.
Sorry about your loss.
Yeah,
It's a trap.
Keep Close even texted his bookie. Oh no. Okay. All right.
Who has a bookie?
All the people who don't have teams.
Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah, Shohei.
Shohei's
Hey. That's right. All right, Rec. Where are we going next? Who are we talking about?
Let's go with the Cincinnati Bengals, who have Joe Burrow, who's for the first time ever had a healthy training camp.
Yeah, that was what I was gonna say earlier when we were talking about how
but is he mentally healthy? Because that hair,
he's something's going on with that. Something's going on with the hair. He's got the Slim Shady
he's
look
like
going.
He's like a pop star where he has to change his look every 5 months.
Well, Cincinnati, let's talk about them a little bit. So, obviously, they're a team that feels like it's a bounce back based off of, again, we're talking about a quarterback that's always injured going into a season in the quarterback side of things. And it's just, we always see Joe Burrow just limping into a season. Maybe this will change. I don't know. Looks like he's got a little bit more of a change of pace going in the preseason as well. We'll see. Some different changes among that roster. So Zach Moss ends up coming in place of Joe Mixon, who has gone on to another team. And then we also have Geno Stone coming in at safety, Trent Brown as the backup right tackle. You have a couple other players here. Tyler Boyd is no longer there as well. I believe he moved on, correct? Tennessee. So they also have a second round pick, defensive lineman Chris Jenkins coming in. So that's another addition that they made in the offseason. But Cincinnati, I think the biggest thing that they could hope for is Joe Burrow being able to distribute the ball. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins are still there as weapons for the Cincinnati Bengals. Mike Gesicki is still is in there for tight end for the Cincinnati Bengals as well. But here we are. Last week, this, by the way, we haven't talked about this division is typically very heavy defensively, very, very stout defenses. We haven't been too high on defenses up until this point, Scotty. Every defense we've evaluated so far has sucked. Basically.
I mean, it's not been great. Where is the defense at in the league?
It's on the AFC North.
It's all offense.
Is it though? Is it?
Yes.
These AFC North teams have flaws defensively, each and every one of them.
Yeah. I mean, every team does.
No, not every team.
Every team has flaws offensively.
Well, but they don't. They also don't have the GOAT.
Someone has to be the pop star to go up against Taylor Swift this year. Why not Joe Burrow to go against T Swift? I mean,
why would anyone try and go against Taylor Swift? That's a losing battle. I don't think Kelsey's. If Kelsey ever one day wakes up and he's like, I'm not into it anymore. No, can't do that. You got to wait for her to end it. You can't end things with Taylor Swift. You would be the single most hated person on the planet.
Oh, yeah. All that fan base.
Although we're talking about the Bengals.
Oh, no. Are we? The Bengals.
Yeah, so Bengals. What are your thoughts? 10.5 is the over-under set.
Yeah, and I think most people just view that as go over. I do think the Bengals are the most capable team to win a Super Bowl in this division. But it could also end poorly. It could go a lot of directions.
High ceiling, low floor.
Yeah, a little bit of that. You lose Joe Mixon, not a huge loss in my opinion. You add Zach Moss. I don't even know if he's going to be the starting running back. You had the backup last year that I'm drawing a blank on, Chase Brown. Yeah, that might end up being the starter there. Offensive line wise, that's always what they blame in Cincy. It's never Burrow's fault. It's the offensive line's fault. They still at the tackle spot struggling. They did address it with Amarius Mims in the first round.
Who's out?
Ironically, he's out, and also he's like a project. I feel like they're very much in win now mode in Cincy. So I was a little caught off guard when they took a kind of a project offensive lineman that could be a beast down the road, but needs some work and seasoning to be ready for that moment. But they drafted him anyway because T. Higgins after this year's gone, right? I think
he's I mean he signed
that's
the franchise. Was he tagged?
He signed the tag. He's tagged this year. He signed it, but next year T. Higgins will not be a Bengal. I think that's pretty common knowledge. So
Jamar Chase is going to get the bag.
Jamar Chase is going to get that bag. You're paying him way more than you're paying now, which is fine. You pay Jamar Chase. If you have Jamar Chase on your team, unless you have a quarterback that's the greatest to ever do it and you can trade your best wide receiver, you keep your
We're talking about the Bengals.
The Bengals, right. Defensively, I think their best player on defense is kind of unhappy as well.
Hendrickson.
Ray Hendrickson.
wanted an extension, didn't really get it. He had like what 17 and a half sacks or something last year.
Yeah.
Might want to
Yeah, like
make
he's
that man happy.
he's a keeping a monster, and he's also the glue that holds that defense together.
I mean, the Bengals are kind of notorious for not being, their ownership is not great. Not known for paying guys, not known for upping, facilities, things like that. Always envision as cheap. This roster, I mean, is the best they've had since the 80s when they made the Super Bowl, right? So go on with it, but they've lost they've lost some pieces. DJ Reader was a loss on the defensive interior. Are they going to be fine? It's just really hard to project the Bengals. Because everyone's like, well, they got Burrow back. They'll be great. They weren't that great with Burrow last year. Even prior to Burrow's injury, they weren't playing that well. And that's
He was
kind of
also
been their
injured.
staple.
He was also injured at the beginning of the year.
Their staple is always they start slow and they pick it up and they play well down the stretch. So maybe we just didn't see that. But their backup, I don't even think played poorly, quite frankly. I think he played pretty well. So what's the ceiling for the team? I think the ceiling can be really high. I think they could absolutely blow up and not go well at all. But I think, as I said, what I will say is this is the team. If a team's going to win the Super Bowl from this division, it's the Bengals.
It feels like
that's the only team.
The way we've been talking about them, it's like boom or bust. It's like it's either. I think keep close is kind of similar. It's like 6-11 or 11-6. And honestly, it's like if we're looking at this, knowing that their over under is 10.5 and the over is the favorite, I feel like we've been more kind of stocked down on the Cincinnati Bengals talking about them here than feeling optimistic. I mean, obviously they still have a lot of nice weapons offensively, but it's like it there just seems to be like a lack of excitement, even with Joe Burrow, given the fact that he's coming into his first healthy season. I just feel like they're like I feel like we should be talking about the Bengals more, get excited about them more, and we're not. And it's not saying that they're not going to be good, but it's a strange. I'm with you. It's kind of strange talking about this team.
Well,
and this may be the last year because, as you mentioned, T. Higgins can be gone. Trey Hendrickson could very well be gone when a new deal. At this point, it's going to be like Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and then a bunch of
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, this could be their last year to like really push.
By the way, real quick, this doesn't have to do with directly the Cincinnati Bengals, but shout out to Football Wife, who is a fan on of the Bengals, and she is always supportive of this channel. She hasn't been around for a little bit, dealing with some family issues and things, and we got an update. We'll keep that just between all of us in the background, but prayers out to Football Wife and everything she's got going on in her life, and love sending out good vibes and prayers her way. Hopefully she's part of the stream moving forward this season, because she's always been a staple in and out of our chat room and our community. So shout out to Football Wife, who is fantastic.
She's the best. Always loved her. Life's tough sometimes, and you go through stuff, and it's not easy. And it sucks, but we love her. So feel that love. If you guys know Football Wife, send her some love.
Tell her we're thinking about her. Clip it. If you want to clip something, clip that and send it over to her. That would probably be a better way to clip than us divorcing our wives or our wives divorcing us. So that's probably a better use of the clipping feature.
For the greater good.
For the greater good. All right. So I think we're saving your boys for last there, Rec.
Sure.
Are we talking about the Baltimore Ravens next? Is that where we're going?
Sure.
Okay. All right. Baltimore Ravens. I guess we're saving the mediocre for last. Let's get into it. Baltimore. Our favorite quarterback. Or wait, hold on. Is Lamar Jackson? He's a quarterback, right? Or is he a running back? I'm Best running back ever to play. Lamar Jackson is leading this
And they
team.
have the second best running back ever as well.
Yeah, they were busy in the offseason making some moves. They were able to upgrade from Gus Edwards and pull in Derrick Henry from the Titans. So Derrick Henry fills a void here in a team that loves running the ball. Now, Derrick Henry's battled some injury issues. This Baltimore Ravens team has battled through bad luck with running backs getting injured. So hopefully that's not a thing.
The Chiefs proved yet again that they are complete frauds. Also, Patrick Mahomes should be forced to leave the league.
A lot of good points.
Hey, my man.
Biddies.
Evil 200 biddies. What? Let's
so
go.
many good takes in one message.
I agree.
I don't know how to address it.
Let's go. What's up, Orioles? How we doing? Orioles here talk about his Baltimore Ravens as well. Brendan, go Ravens, go. Thank you, Evil, for the biddies and telling you what you think about those Chiefs.
Orioles and Brendan, I like you're honest. If you just had to like dive deep in your brain and be like, do I really trust and believe that Lamar Jackson can lead me to a Super Bowl? Do you believe that? I mean, you know where I stand. Probably
So,
everyone knows where I stand. But like, no. Is he the worst two-time MVP in the history of the NFL?
Probably.
I mean,
there are many two-time MVPs, but yeah.
I guess the more concerning thing for me for the Baltimore Ravens is the fact that
they believe it. They're both yes. A lot of yeses. It's confusing to me because like name a playoff game where he actually played well. Hasn't happened.
And that's the thing. It feels more regular season results as opposed to postseason wins, right? They haven't had a lot of production because what happens in the postseason when you get down, you gotta rely on quarterback play. You gotta rely on a player who can actually use his arm to get you out of situations. And when you're playing from a deficit, we talk about this every year. There's two teams we talk about every year. Chargers, we'll get to them in a little bit, and the Ravens. And it's like, that you can win a lot of regular season games. It feels kind of like how the Suns were, when the Phoenix Suns were winning with Mike D'Antoni, and they would win all these regular season games, and they would get in the playoffs, and they would just get destroyed.
Nash, two-time MVP.
Like, they would just get destroyed by these teams after winning so many regular season games, and we would be like, it's just not the recipe. I don't know why they're not able to do it, but it's just not part of their fabric to win playoff games. And so that's the thing that I struggle with. Until I see it, it's hard for me to believe it. And so that's where I just struggle here with the Baltimore Ravens. Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, and Nelson Aguilar are the receivers for this team. But tight end is where they really get a lot of their bread and butter from Mark Andrews, who's one of the best in the NFL. So you still have your safety blanket there with Mark Andrews. But yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is this team is going to run the ball a lot, and they're going to be able to, move the ball. It's just, what are you going to get? It's kind of, similar to the Cowboys, right? Like a lot of regular season success, not a lot in the postseason to be super proud of. So that's where I feel like I'm just a little hesitant on Baltimore.
Yeah. I feel like Baltimore, anytime they have like a peak season, the next year, like you fade them and it always works. I feel like last year was a peak season, just like they had in 2019 and 2020. Didn't live close up to those expectations. Obviously, Lamar has also been decently injury prone. Healthy last year. I'm not wishing injury, obviously, on him. Want him to play. But I think the greatest strength of that offense is and always has been their offensive line. You lose 3 starters from the offensive line from last year that you're trying to replace. Usually when you're replacing 1 to 2, that's like bold and dangerous.
All right.
3.
Let's
go.
Thank you, Hauser.
loser.
Happy 21 months, 22 now. Welcome in. Good to have you, Hauser. It's been a while. Good to have you here, and the train is off the tracks. Let's roll it. Thank you for the hype train. Let's keep it rolling, guys. All right. So,
but
yeah,
you lose Morgan Moses, you lose Kevin Zeitler,
Simpson
line. Like, you lose 3 of your starters on offensive line. Usually that spells disaster. And I think the offensive line is crucial. And listen, I love John Harbaugh as a coach, so maybe he can coach up whoever the replacements are. You add Derrick Henry, obviously a very fun name, but very maybe hit or miss right now. Derrick Henry was running to the ground in Tennessee. So is he going to be productive? Is he not? Because you left obviously J.K. Dobbins didn't play for a couple of years because he was always hurt. You got rid of Gus Edwards, so you're relying on Derrick Henry, who's a phenomenal player, but also running backs of that age usually don't work out. So we'll see whether he can hold up. Jadeveon Clowney was a nice piece on that edge actually last year, but he stayed his 1 year, which he likes to do on every team he's at, and moved on. I think this team regresses some this year. There's no way they live up to what they did last year. Zero chance. Zero chance. What's their over under? 10.5?
10.5.
After what did they win last year? 13?
Correct.
Yeah. So, I mean, Vegas is kind of telling the same story. Like, you see a team that went 13-4, and all of a sudden they're 10.5 the next year. It's like, oh, it's a free bet. They're gonna eclipse that. I think they hit the under on that.
Ooh.
I think they go 10-7. So not steep under, but I think they go 10-7.
And I like Derrick. I liked Derrick Henry. I felt like he was a good fit here for the Baltimore Ravens. And I had this fantasy stat when we were talking about players on new teams and why I liked him. And, that was part of, the scenario. But then also to see that they've lost that continuity with that offensive line makes me step back and think, all right, I don't know. Because, obviously Titans had a terrible offensive line, right? Ravens running backs, I had this stat. It was like, they averaged something around a league-leading 4.8 yards per carry, and they were number 1 in yards before contact, where in Tennessee, Henry was 30th in yards before contact with the Titans. So, there's some really nice pieces to, really enjoy.
Three new linemen, though.
And that's the thing, is, can you get that same production with 3 new linemen? So that's the thing.
All right.
Hey, Diacola, thank you for the 200 biddies.
Let's go.
Keeping that hype train going. Gus Edwards had 13 touchdowns last year. I mean, that's it's just at that if he could get 13 touchdowns,
elite running back play in Baltimore between Lamar Jackson and Gus Edwards, or now Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry.
So I guess it all is pivotal to understand if that offensive line is going to be as good as it was. And I just don't know if that's the case. I don't know if I can trust that offensive line as much as what they lost.
Evil has a off-topic, a little bit question. Is Daniel Jones a top 10 QB?
No.
I would say if you eliminate the top 20 QBs, yes. Yes.
It's my quarterback.
Yeah.
Gavin 30s.
Daniel Jones.
He's somewhere in between 21 and 30 for me.
He threw 2 interceptions in preseason that were pretty bad interceptions, I think. They weren't great. That's mean, Scotty.
I feel like he's just going to throw the ball to Malik Neighbors like a 500 situation, and that might not be a bad result this year. He finally has an elite wide receiver. I'll give him that. He hasn't had great weapons on the outside New York at all. So I think he's just going to chuck the ball up and hope Malik Neighbors makes some plays.
Telling you there's a chance.
Telling me there's a chance.
All All right. Well, there you go. Edgar, Allen, and Poe are the new Ravens offensive line. Yeah, you might be right. I don't know. Yeah, Baltimore, their offensive lines, at least as it sits right now, they got Ronnie Staley, Andrew Voorhees.
Stanley, who Staley. Yeah, he never stays healthy.
You guess?
He
Yeah,
hasn't been
Voorhees,
healthy.
he's a rookie that has, or not a rookie, but he has injury concerns, which is why he fell all the way to where Baltimore got him.
They drafted a offensive lineman, Rosengarten, in the second round. We'll see how that plays out, but it's a rookie, so you don't really know. Yeah, there's just a lot of unknown, and I feel like the Ravens, they're always like, the Ravens are consistent. They're always good. And I think they're actually a little more up and down than people realize. And every time they've had a really elite year, at least in the last like 5-6 years, the next year they follow it and they kind of implode a little bit. They're not healthy as they were. They don't live up to expectations. And I don't think the Ravens are a big threat to win a Super Bowl. Well, I've never thought that because of Lamar Jackson, but
Yeah.
Let's just say they have an uphill battle. But they're a favorite to win the division, so we'll see.
Slight. What was it? It was plus 145 to plus 160 for the Bengals, so it's basically
plus 145 plus 165, and we're kind of both like stocked down on both teams that are 10.5 win projected, like with the over as the favorite. So it's
I'm stocked down on all these teams.
Yeah.
How did I do that?
I mean, maybe AFC North, just sell your stocks now. Speaking of selling stocks, let's talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. Because I'm not gonna lie, Rec, I was getting a lot of Denver Broncos Twitter gets a lot of Russell Wilson Twitter overlapping from Pittsburgh fans, and I clicked on a couple trending things from the Pittsburgh side of things. Russell Wilson was trending, and I'm looking at what Pittsburgh fans are saying, and between both, Rec, it doesn't look pretty. Pittsburgh is 8.5 wins as far as their win total goes in this division. Now, these are your boys. I'll let you go. I'll let you go in first, Rec. I'll let you talk about your boys. And then Scotty and I will jump in after. What is your preview for this team? What are your expectations going into this NFL season?
I feel like the offense has to be better by default because, again, no Matt Canada. Will Arthur Smith be good? Who knows? But again, like if you find someone worse than Matt Canada, you don't really belong in the league. Let's be real. Yeah, that should be better. Russell Wilson will be the starting quarterback in Week 1. They're hoping that he will be the starting quarterback throughout the season. Now he did miss the first couple of weeks of training camp. Didn't play the first preseason game due to a calf injury. He's finally 100% healthy. Like last week was his first. This past week was his first week practicing. So he's probably still really rusty. We'll see how he does by the time we get to Atlanta in Week 1. This team's better is the running game. The whole strategy is just I'm going to shove this football down your throat and there's nothing you can do to stop me. Again, that hurts though because Jalen Warren, he's out. He might be out for the first week, except for the hamstring injury yesterday. Either way, this team built the offense to run the ball. They brought in Arthur Smith, who is a heavy run-first guy. They loaded up on the offensive line, didn't do much with receivers. They brought in Roman Wilson, who's a run-blocking receiver. They drafted him, but again, he's also hurt, so we'll see when he gets back. They got Zach Frazier starting at center. He's going to be a definite upgrade over Mason Cole. And how much better would the offense be? Hard to tell, especially with the question marks at quarterback. But in the end, this offense should be better than it was last year. Defensively, they had all kinds of upgrades. They brought in Patrick Queen to be the quarterback of the defense. They brought in Dante Jackson over Levi Wallace. So they have guys. All right.
Hey, let's go.
Thank you, Medic.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much, Medic. Thank you so much. Appreciate you being here, my man. What's going on?
Oh, that's from Riley. Get from Riley.
Riley. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, that was gift from Riley. I didn't even see that.
Congrats.
I can't read.
Thank you,
Can't read.
Riley.
Yeah. Apparently, yeah. Which in the end, like this team is still significantly better than it was last year, talent wise and coaching wise. But again, you know, like I'm not a big fan of Mike Tomlin. Like he's kind of the Alex Smith of coaches, which is why the Steelers are kind of the Alex Smith of teams. Very high floor, but very low ceiling. Again, are they going to win? Are they going to win at least 9 games this year? Yes, they have the talent. They do have the best defensive player in football in TJ Watt. But it's like they have all the talent. It's just like, can they get it all to gel?
They traded for Myles Garrett?
No. No, they can't really afford it because they're paying all these other guys a lot of money.
I just heard best defensive player, and so I was like, oh. I didn't even know they had Myles Garrett or Chris Jones. And
then, of course, Cameron Hayward's finally healthy. Keanu Benn in his second year. Joey Porter's in his second year, so they should take steps up. They already had great rookie seasons. We'll see if they can step up in their second year. I mean, I still love this roster. I think it's an amazing roster, but again, don't like the coaching. Feel like that's what's really going to hold this team back. Quarterback play. Like again,
quarterback play should be leaps and bounds mentioned before coaching.
Yeah, I'd say that, but it's like again, the quarterbacks won't have to carry the load for this team. It'll be all on Najee.
This isn't 1993.
Like
quarterbacks do have to carry a load. You can't just win without good quarterback play anymore.
I mean, all we expect out of Russell Wilson is to pretty much be a game manager. Don't turn the ball over. I know I said the same thing last year about Kenny Pickett, which he couldn't do. So we'll see if Russell Wilson can do that. Like he's not expected to be the guy like he was in Denver. Like the team is built so to take a lot of pressure off his shoulders. So we'll see how he can fare when he's not expected to do everything for this team. Like he was with the Broncos.
This is the worst offense in the NFC North. Or AFC North.
So here's my thing. Like they somehow finished 10-7 last year.
Maybe Cleveland.
They somehow finished 10-7. Kenny Pickett went 7-5. Trubisky went 0-2. Rudolph went 3. Was it Rudolph? 3-0, right? He won 3 games.
Yeah.
Yep. And so I'm thinking to myself, man, Kenny Pickett, Trubisky, and Rudolph this team was 10-7. I'm like, wait a minute, where did that come from? And then you kind of shift, right? You're like, all right, we're gonna get a couple quarterbacks in, right? You got 2 additions to this team in our boy Russell Wilson here in Denver, and then Justin Fields, who's coming in. And again, I was like, okay, maybe they could find something out of one of those 2 guys, maybe. And so I'm sitting here and I'm just like, okay, but then you have the new Canada is out, so you don't have to worry about terrible offensive play calling. So you instead bring in Arthur Smith, who, obviously is coming from Atlanta, loves running the football, right? In a time where quarterback play is like a big, big thing.
I'll say Tomlin has the worst hiring ability in the league.
And so part of me is like, okay, so you're going to run the ball. I mean, we kind of saw how that recipe was for Atlanta. And I do think you upgraded from Canada, but how much of an upgrade was that? Right? Like,
yeah, that's what we're going to find out.
Because,
we did run the football a lot with Rudolph, when we had Faulkner and Sullivan as our co-OCs, and that worked well.
So I guess I question that a little bit as well. I'm like, all right, so you have a decent offensive line. Arthur Smith was able to get a lot out of Bijan and Algier. That's fine. But again, like what happens when you get behind in games? And that's what I'm worried about. And then watching these preseason games has given me some like PTSD from watching Russ last year. There was open pockets in this last preseason game yesterday that he didn't step up into. He held onto the ball way too long. And then afterwards, I see Tomlin blaming the offensive line, like, man, the offensive line needs to protect better. I'm like, you're not going to talk about the fact that Russ is holding the ball as long as he is? And like, if I'm an offensive lineman, I'm pissed. How long is that going to last in Pittsburgh?
I would say To be fair, our right tackle, Broderick Jones, he played like ass last game. Like there's highlights of Gregory Rousseau just abusing him, which he was great last year. I don't know what it was this year. I don't know if he got comfortable in camp, but that was unacceptable from Broderick.
And then I see the post-game press conference of Russ, and it's like, oh, he's positive. All rainbows and sunshine. Everything's going to get better once this happens, pie in the sky. I've been there for 2 years. I know what that looks like. And you're just like, okay, all right, maybe. I've been too close to it, Scotty. So maybe I'm like too tunnel visioned on Russ. And I think that Fields is going to be the long-term solution because he's just a little more dynamic. I just think Russ is stuck back in like old school football style. And I don't know if he's evolved with the game and been able to like keep up with the speed of the game and everything else. It's hard for me to like see him as a quarterback you could rely on. So I eventually think Fields will be the guy. And then at what point of the season is that going to be?
Fields has looked even worse. Like he has the talent, but he has no mechanics, like no ability to read the field. Like it's just all leg talent. That's about it.
You'll see that's what Russ turns into, and you might as well go with Fields, who has more leg talent than Russ at this point, or ever. Yeah, I mean, listen, offensively, maybe they still make the move for Ayuk. I don't know where that's at, but like you've lost talent.
I thought we weren't mentioning his name anymore on this channel.
You can say Deontay Johnson's not a loss, but it is. It definitely is. You're relying now on George Pickens, who's certifiably insane, to be your number one. That could go
highlights
really
but
poorly
insane.
really soon, or it could be great. You don't know. Defensively, obviously, it seems to start and end with TJ Watt. On the defensive side of the ball, it always has for this team. When he's healthy, they seem to play good. When he's not, they
fall off the cliff.
Not so much. I don't know if it's a direct correlation as much as Rec thinks it is, but there's something to be said for what that looks like. So props to TJ Watt. TJ
Watt's a baller.
Elite. He's amazing. You got Rec's number one corner in the league, Joey Porter Jr. Coming into year 2. He's not near the number one corner in the league, but I'm concerned outside of that. I'm concerned outside of him, though. Like, they traded in the Deontay Johnson, I think they traded for a corner from
Dante
Carolina,
Jackson,
who's fine, but you don't really have like a slot corner. The safety play is outside of Minka.
Deshaun Elliott from Baltimore.
Deshaun Elliott, like, fine. But it's weird that you're just adding defensive players from Baltimore with Patrick Queen or Deshaun Elliott. I don't think the Ravens are like, hey, we'll just let you go to a division rival, unless. I'm not super high on Deshaun Elliott. I like Patrick Queen. I don't know if he's elite, but I think he's good. He's very good.
Yeah.
A very solid player. Former first round pick at LSU, like, very, very good player. But I'm concerned about the back end, and I'm concerned about the quarterback play. And, like, listen, you want to run the ball all the time? Good luck with that. Your running backs are fine. I don't think they're great. I don't think Najee Harris has lived up to his first round stature. And Jalen Warren, who's now hurt, is like, it's fine. Like, but in today's football, you don't win by throwing the football, and you don't win by, we're going to run to set up the pass. That's not how the NFL works anymore. That's not how it works right now. Maybe it'll go back to that at some point. I don't know. But right now, that's not how you win long-term in the NFL. I think Tomlin's really bad at hiring coordinators. I do not like Arthur Smith. I do not like Arthur. It's like green eggs and ham. I do not like Arthur Smith. I do not like him, Sam. I am.
Yeah, like, I have cautious optimism. Because he was a good offensive coordinator, even though he had Derrick Henry. He
was good in the system that was like perfect for what he wants to run. But like
this system is
Tennessee,
kind of perfect for what he wants to run too. They built it
you don't have Derrick Henry first and foremost. So that's a concern. But I don't like Arthur Smith. So the one fault you can clearly say about Tomlin is I think he's very poor at picking his coordinators.
Yeah.
Clearly. I think he's a very good rah-rah guy, very good. The players
Agree with
love him.
Agree with that.
Is he X and O's fully? Maybe,
No.
maybe not. But you say his ceiling is, to be clear, winning a Super Bowl because he's done it as a head coach in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, a long time ago. Things changed.
Okay, but still, you're like, his ceiling is this. And I'm like, well, actually, his ceiling is being the best team in the league and winning a Super Bowl. Because he's done it. Do I think they're going to do it anytime soon? No.
Doc's all stocked up on alcohol for the season, just so you know. And I appreciate that,
yeah.
Doc. I mean, yeah.
I think it's going to be watching Russ as a Chiefs fan was hilarious, but as a Bronco fan or as a Steeler fan, I don't have high expectations for Russ, and I do think Justin Fields. Well, but Justin Fields is not a Tomlin type. Russ is way more a Tomlin type. I'll give him that. Good or bad.
I mean, when we're talking about if we're talking about anything, right? So Baltimore, their recipe is running the ball. You got the Steelers' recipe is running the ball. Can we just go ahead? Can we go ahead and pick the under in all of these games all season long?
I think I think someone definitely in the chat said something about defenses in the AFC North are overrated because they play against shitty offenses. And there's something to be said for that.
There's something to be said because it's like when you're not threatened by any kind of elite quarterback. I mean, you could say Joe Burrow might be in that mix.
Two-time MVP Lamar Jackson, which is a joke. I mean, I get why he won them both years, but like, no one actually believes Lamar Jackson is a top 5 QB in the league. You can't possibly believe that if you've actually watched football before.
So yeah, it's gonna be the same as it always is every single year going into this division of like grindy, low scoring style of games that
and the defenses look great, and all of a sudden then they go to the playoffs and they get exposed.
Yeah, by good quarterback because good quarterbacks make it to the playoffs.
Both teams, they had 2 teams make the playoffs last year, and both kind of got exposed.
Three teams made the playoffs.
Oh, they had 3. You're right. You're right. They had 3, and all of them. I mean, Baltimore's defense actually played pretty decent. But the other 2.
Ultimately, Tomlin is a better coach than the Steelers deserve. Oh, so now I'm right? When you agree with me? Shaking my head.
Never once thought you were right. Keep close. What are you right about? I'm just kidding. Kidding. Keep close.
If you could harness it, you could power a city with AB's craziness. You might be right. Between him and Pickens, I feel like the crazy factor is, it's wild.
I'm gonna do
it's kind of funny.
Code yellow.
Look at this dude.
Close out this division and head to
guys,
the division.
Hit that follow button if you have not already. We have a lot of you guys chilling with us in the chat. We're breaking down one more division. It's going to be spicy division here. AFC West. My Broncos, Scotty's Chiefs. We got the Raiders, and we have a lot to say about the Chargers as well. So make sure you hit that follow button. Again, if you guys are just joining us, there's nobody that covers the NFL, NBA, you name it, better than what we do here on this channel. Share it with your friends. Make sure that everyone knows that, we are here putting out the best sports content on this platform, and maybe even other YouTube. You could throw us in with some of these others. And we want to just have some more people hanging out with us. We'll be breaking down weekly every single game that we are excited about going into week 1, week 2, week 3. We're going to break down what we like, what we don't like, what we expect to happen. We're also going to be talking about our best bets. We're going to be doing fantasy football news and analysis and who you should start, who you should sit. We're going to have everything top to bottom when it comes to you guys playing in contests for free, absolutely free, whether that's
I can do it.
Fantasy football, whether that's our Pick'em League, our Survivor League, our super contest, you name it. Make sure you guys are coming in and giving it all some love. I love experiments you guys perform on our website. We do pretty great science experiments too. Thanks, Evil. Appreciate that. Exclamation! But if you want to see that science website, there we go. There's the link. Go check it out. There's where our store is. Go check out our store. Go check out everything else. But the best thing you could do, guys, share the stream with other people and hit that follow button, guys. We need more of you guys here. We haven't started it yet. We're actually going to get those this week, guys. This week, we are going to make sure we have everything set for all of our contests. Scotty and I have a lot of time, and we might be doing some daytime streams this week because Scotty and I both don't have gigs yet, and we are kind of free. The kids are going to school. We have some time. We're going to be doing some daytime streams, I think, this week, some pop-up streams. So you guys got to be following us to know when we go live. We might not be able to get fast trigger fingers on those Twitter updates and all the Discord, so make sure you guys hit that follow button. You guys are both
Hobo?
Yes.
yeah.
Is that an acronym or it just means hobo?
I think it just means hobo.
Wow.
Yep, pretty much.
So,
I mean,
Roger. One last thing on this division, real quick. So we're talking about the Browns. Y'all have the under. The
Under on
Bengals
all
and
four,
Ravens. Yeah, the Bengals and Ravens. You have the under, but the Steelers at 8.5. I mean, that seems like a decent over.
Like-
So maybe y'all, the Steelers might be a dark horse for the division, based off of the unders for the other thing.
to win it, no.
To win the
To
division.
win it, no. To
I think if
get
Lamar and Burrow can get hurt, they're in the mix. Because Lamar's a great regular season QB.
yeah,
I
teams
think you had the
teams aren't
Ravens.
ready.
You did have the Ravens and Bengals under 10.5. So you're saying they go 10-7, Steelers go 9-8.
But they don't go 10-7 if those guys get hurt. And then maybe the Steelers get a little better. But like the Steelers just are so.
I just can't get over the fact that
They're so the Steelers.
I can't get over the fact that they were 10-7 with Pickett, Trubisky, and Rudolph last year. That's just like it's so weird.
It was a little fake though.
Why don't you guys work for the Athletic? Maybe we do. Maybe we go. We're already on Bleacher Report making some money. So, Athletic, hey, if you're listening, hook us up.
Hire us. We're here. We're ready.
Steelers will be lucky to win 6 games this year. Is this an interesting division race at least? I think.
Oh, for sure.
I think this is an
all
interesting
four
division race for sure.
You can make an argument for any of these 4 teams to win the division, and I wouldn't be like you're crazy.
Who'd you pick?
I would. I have a weird feeling about the Ravens this year, so I would take the Bengals. This is like their year. They got to put it all out there. There's no coming back from this. So I think they're going to throw everything that we've seen from the Bengals on this.
They have
and
to.
I think
They have no
the
choice.
most upside. I think they have the best playoff potential, which is what we've seen. Like I think that's pretty. I don't even think that's controversial. Like the Bengals have been by far the most successful playoff team in this division over the last 5-6 years. So,
I'd say over the last decade.
yeah, you can go to a decade if you want.
We have to win the first half of the season to have a chance at above 500 with the brutal back end schedule.
The schedule makers really did us dirty.
Let Fields cook.
I feel bad that your Christmas, and you say your Christmas isn't going to be ruined because you'll go in with 0 expectations, but no, you will. I know you better than that, Rec. You'll be like, oh, we can do it. And then I just like, I hope you get great gifts before that. Or maybe you open them when they're losing.
It's kind of that bittersweet. I feel like the running game for the Bengals might be lacking, but I could be wrong. I still need to see Kenny Pickett back home with the Steelers.
I don't think Mixon initially was a really, really good piece for them. I think the last year or two he's kind of been perfectly average. I don't think they're going to be missing Joe Mixon that much.
But they're gonna be missing is the empty hole at the right tackle because I think Trent Brown is also hurt for them.
Yeah, he gets hurt a lot.
Either that or he's just been getting abused as well.
And then you got the other Brown who isn't as good as they thought when they thought they stole him from the Chiefs. Adorable.
All right, well, let's put a bow on the AFC